my mom single-handedly raised $300K. Like, I didn't even know my mom was doing this, but when I actually looked at the names on the list, it came out to about $300K. Just came from my mom calling every person that she knew, saying, "Put in your money, this thing's gonna explode."
Welcome back to Adventure Capital. Today, we've got on Renji Bijoy. He's the founder and CEO of virtual reality technology company named Immersed. They raised more than $1 million with their Wefunder campaign and almost $4 million more broadly to date. Renji also made the Forbes 30 Under 30 list for 2021. Buckle in and enjoy the episode.
So Renji, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, glad to be here.
So let's get started. Maybe you could kick things off by giving us the intro on Immersed.
Yeah. So I'm the founder of Immersed. Immersed is partner with Facebook to build VR offices. Especially after COVID, this has become extremely important for everyone to figure out how to collaborate remotely more effectively. And Zoom calls like this or chat, it's just not the same as being together in person. And so, right when COVID hit, Facebook had looked at all the different VR productivity apps in the space to give people a more immersive way of collaborating effectively remotely. And at a different, 40 different competitors in the space, Immersed was the one that they felt like had really just sort of the easiest onboarding, the highest utility as far as being able to use an Oculus Quest 2, wirelessly pair to your laptop, whether it be a Mac, PC, or Linux computer, and virtually spawn 5 screens off of your computer. So you put the headset on, you immediately have 5 screens. You could take that portably to your couch, your porch, take it to the airport, wherever you go. You have your portable, private, distraction-free workspace with all of your screens around you at the click of a button. And so, and the cool thing is, as soon as you say you're a coder or a designer, if you want to collaborate with your remote team, they can immediately beam into that space as if they were physically side by side with you. They'll be around all of your screens. They'll be in front of their whiteboard. You can whiteboard together, and you could even just converse. You can see each other's body language. It feels like you're there with people. It's been really cool to see that we have thousands of users, tens of thousands every month, many of whom spend 40 plus hours every week working in VR. Yes, they have a VR headset on their head 8 hours a day because it helps with productivity. Yeah, like not necessarily 8 hours straight, just as much time you spend in front of your computer screen. Maybe 2 hours at a time, whatever. But the point is, as soon as they put on the VR headset, they have their entire workstation in front of them. It's a distraction-free, like deep focus sort of environment, and it's essentially, hopefully, 2-3 years from now, when Apple glasses or Facebook glasses come out, you can put on those glasses and teleport into the office using Immersed, right? Sort of similar to like how Zoom today is the video conferencing software that everyone uses to connect their iPhone or MacBook or iPad or whatever device to a video conferencing call. Immersed will essentially be the software that people use in the next generation of computing, whether it be AR glasses, a VR headset, et cetera, tying all the different hardwares together.
That's amazing, man, and kind of perfect timing in the pandemic to be doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
it's probably impossible to answer this question without like experiencing the product, and that's tough to do on a podcast.
Yeah,
but what's the killer use case, or like can you try to paint a picture of how this is so amazing and why this is kind of going to boost productivity or build kind of more kind of strong relationships among colleagues or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, I think even more than the collaboration piece, even just think about a product out there that can, as soon as you start using it, imagine being able to be 3x, 5x more productive using that product than
what's the why? Why does it make me as an employee of Facebook 5x more productive?
Exactly, because we're going to be releasing this thing called hyper focus mode, and it's crazy when you have a VR headset on. Here, this is the Oculus Quest, for example. My Quest 2 is over there. I guess a bunch of VR headsets behind me. The Oculus Quest 2, for example, like as soon as you put it on, we're going to be releasing this feature called hyper focus mode, where just think about the idea that everything that you see and hear, we control in a sense. Like we get to manipulate your environment in such a way where we can optimize specifically for productivity and getting work done. So what I mean by that is, imagine if you had an app where you put the headset on, you have 5 screens around you, so it doesn't really matter if you're definitely not on one screen, where because even just adding a second screen increases productivity by 44% just by virtue of having one extra screen. I'm not saying, obviously, like the math doesn't work out in regards to 44. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not, it tapers off, but the idea is you have more screen real estate, but then also on top of that, we're going to be integrating with your laptop in such a way where we can automatically turn on do not disturb mode, so you're not getting a bunch of iMessages on your MacBook. Also being able to turn on a social media blocker, so you're not tempted to open up Facebook or whatever on your laptop instead of getting your work done, and essentially nudge you back into your work. Putting a timer right above your screen saying, "Hey, Johnny, just focus in VR for 43 minutes."
I learned that productivity trick one time. If you're like working on something that needs you to be undistracted, setting a timer of 30 minutes, and you can kind of weave that into the product.
So exactly. And so what that does is, so there's that, and even just things like a task list that every time your brain zones off or whatever, like you immediately look at your task, like, oh yeah, I was working on that thing. Helps you get back into focus mode. Even integrating different sorts of music into the virtual world that can help increase cognitive focus. There's a lot. Again, we manipulate your entire virtual world, so we can optimize for your productivity. So again, if you're just in that environment, the point is every time you get in that environment, your brain is triggered to increase cognitive focus, and at the end of the day, get more work done than you would be able to in the real world.
And that's a pretty compelling pitch to Facebook or customer, right?
100%.
Basically, I'm going to enable all of your employees to be 30% more productive. That's pretty amazing. So you have kids. Before this call, my big question is, can I tune my kids out?
A lot of users do that. Like for example, one of the people on my team, he has twins, and every 5 or 10 minutes, they're like 4 or 5 years old. Every 5 or 10 minutes, they come into the room, just like, "Daddy, what are you doing?" He's like, "I told you like 18 times I'm working," and it just like it prevents them from being, especially people working from home now, it prevents them from being able to get into a mode of deep work. And so as soon as you put the headset on, you're in this sort of mode of deep work more frequently and for longer periods of time.
Yeah. Is there any kind of like manipulating that, like some of the words, and like is there a dark side, or are there kind of risks around I don't know kind of what those risks might be?
So as of right now, Facebook does a lot of research around, like, is there any health issue with your eyes? If you're talking about more so us being able to have access to a person's computer in order to spawn multiple screens, all that type of stuff, like everything is 256-bit encoded, encrypted.
I meant more kind of, I guess, like behavioral or kind of even, maybe health impact.
From the health side of things, Facebook's doing a ton of research and health studies around that. So we kind of leave that to them. And so far, everything, no issues. I remember, like, as a kid growing up, my parents were like, you're going to get glasses if you sit too close to the screen, but there's no actual like evidence for that type of stuff. And now there's screens, on your eyeballs. From a health standpoint, no. It's just, if anything, we have users who have had a lot of optical issues with before using Immersed, so they can't look at normal screens, and so they use e-ink screens. But now with Immersed, for whatever reason, I don't know how this works, but they're actually able to finally work again. There's a user called Vermeer that you could look at our website or reviews. One of them, he talks about, now I can, like, this Immersed literally saved my IT career.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. So, that's Immersed. And now I'd love to talk about your Wefunder journey. I guess, firstly, the arc of your kind of partnership with Wefunder, because we collaborated on a couple of things, culminating in a super successful Reg CF and Reg D round. And then the other thing I want to talk about is how you raised $2 million pretty quickly, because I'm sure a lot of founders would love to replicate that. But maybe first, like, how did you hear about Wefunder? How did you get plugged in? And then tell us about your experience working with us.
Yeah, so I'd actually heard of the name Wefunder before. I don't remember exactly where I heard about it, but as far as the way I heard about the XX cohort, the program you guys put on, Justin Kahn, one of the founders of Twitch, tweeted about it. And I follow him on because he's a YC founder. I follow a lot of YC founders on Twitter. And so I saw the program. It was really cool to see how they were looking to surround you with a bunch of YC exited founders who could be mentors for you. And so for me, that was the main selling point. I mainly I know they give you some initial small capital, like $50K or whatever, to help you obviously be able to bootstrap your company as much as possible. But for us, it wasn't really about the money. It was more so I just wanted the YC mentorship. And so going through that cohort or that program, it was honestly, Paul Sawaya, Daniel Ha, those guys, I mean, they were just amazing in regards to their ability to really sort of help you tackle different problems and have almost like a first principles approach to the way that you're solving your problems. And so
you have an example, a tangible example of that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So Paul Sawaya, for example, single-handedly changed our revenue model, our business model. So we essentially
that's a pretty good
yeah, I'm being real. Yeah, he's super helpful. So we used to have 4 tiers to our product. He was like, number one, having 4 tiers, it just gets more complex. But we had a tier in there that wasn't bringing much value to us. So we had a free tier, we had a one-time $15 lifetime access tier. So it's kind of like, because we realized we were in the VR space, and historically most VR early adopters are gamers, and so we're like, hey, they're just used to paying one-time fees. They hate multi-subscriptions, so let's give them something that they could pay for. So we had like a $15 pro tier. Then we had a $10 a month elite tier. So we're like, hey, if some gamers are cool with, or just VR users, even if not gamers, are cool with paying a subscription, then we can actually grow our MRR, right? And so then the final tier was like a Teams tier, which we still have. Paul Sawaya was like, so what value do you get with the one-time paid users? And I was just like, I mean, honestly, it's probably more pain than not. Like, they are extremely whiny around what sort of things that we need to build for them. And they paid us $15 one time, and now we're their slave. Yeah. Exactly. And so he was like, well, are you trying to build a game, or are you trying to build a productivity app? And I was just like, a productivity app. Like, it's just like, obviously, yeah.
So annoying, right? Like I remember, like the board at Kiva would come in. Like Reid Hoffman was on the board, right? And so he would come in and like just know very little about the day to day of the operations, and just from this 50,000 foot view, come in like just ask these questions. It was like, I know why we're not doing it that way. But it is. But then, like, if you do a similar role for like another founder that you're not in the weeds for, it becomes so much easier. It is 100%. Yep. Abstraction, the distance from the day to day, just
exactly
helps you to kind of cut through and find those insights.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, in that one conversation, I was like, all right, well, I mean, he has a good point. Like, I mean, I thought of this before, but I just didn't pull the trigger. Partly because I guess I saw it as some additional revenue. But he also made the point that the users who exactly like if more users are going to that, then they're just going to go for that, and they won't pay you monthly. So if you take away that option,
they might have signed up for
exactly. Exactly.
So that's a really cool example. So you went through XX, and then coming out of that, then was when you launched the RegCF campaign. So can you talk a little bit about your kind of the experience and what happened with that?
Yeah. So, the RegCF round, I mean, it's funny. When I first had talked with the Wefunder team about that, or actually they reached out to me saying, hey, the XX cohort's coming to an end. Or do you think that you'll be doing a Wefunder campaign? I said, no. I was just like, we have the funds that we need, raise $1 million before the program actually. So it'll be good for at least, 12 to 16 months. But they had actually brought up the point that because we were about to release into the Oculus Quest store, which was the latest store, like there's the Oculus Go store from before, but we were about to release into Oculus Quest store. And they're like, I mean, this could be a way to get your users to be financially obligated to your success. Right. So if your users are essentially invested in the company, then they could essentially evangelize on your behalf. And this could really, blow things out of the water. And so, they made a good point. And I was just like, I guess my fear was that if we were to go the non-VC funding route, that there would be a perception that people would think that Immersed is on its last legs, it can't get VC funding, so it's just going to ask random people on the internet. And so there was a stigma. So at least in the VR space.
I get that question a lot, and I have an answer to it. What's your answer to it?
Well, mine is you could say that, but we raise $1 million in a day.
And then we just find it with Facebook, so it's not on our last leg.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. What were you going to say? What was yours? Yeah.
basically the same thing. It's like, well, no, like I just thought it would be good for the growth of our company to bring on 1,500 people as like investors and passionate brand ambassadors and loyal customers.
Exactly.
And the only reason you're talking to a VC in a year's time or 6 months' time is if you have a growth chart to justify your presence in that room.
Yeah.
And the kind of the narratives align of like, here's our growth chart.
Yeah.
We did this Wefunder thing because we thought it could, drive our growth, and here's our growth chart. And especially if you have some data that shows, look, here's our investors becoming customers, and vice versa.
Well, there's also a very important social impact side of this as well. Like as far as the wealth gap, historically only VCs and angels, like accredited investors, can invest in companies, and so enabling, like democratizing investment in general. Wefunder does that, right? Like the friends and family, friends and family who've been supporting you all throughout the years, they don't get to take part in your financial upside.
Well, that's why I work at Wefunder, right? Which is like, if Immersed, becomes a unicorn, right? Who do I want to get rich on Renji building a huge company? A bunch of millionaires and VCs, or like ordinary Americans. That is maybe not the line I would use with the VC.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah.
But that's why I work at Wefunder.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, VCs have asked me afterward, like, why did you decide to do crowdfunding? And I was just like, I'll be real, like, I do want my friends and family to be able to take part in the financial upside of our business. And like, at the end of the day, like, I think that, I mean, the VCs who I said, hey, I'm not just trying to make rich VCs even richer, and I do want to democratize, like, they had no rebuttal. Just to be real, they're like, I mean, that's a fair point. Like, yeah, we do already have a lot of money. That's cool. Like, they want to make more, but at the end of the day, like, they know when they're dealing with Renji, they're just going to get it how it is. I'm not going to lie to them. I'm not going to just try to, just suck up to them.
And, if there's VCs that, like, for whom that is, like, a big problem, like, maybe they're not the strategically aligned investors you want to be, taking a board seat.
Exactly, yeah. That's a really good point. Like, I remember listening to a talk by the Nightscope founder who had raised like $20 million or $40 million through like Reg A plus or whatever, and he was just talking about how like it just didn't make sense for him as an emerging tech founder to get a bunch of VCs on their board who didn't really know how to build the future of whatever he's building, like security world or whatever it was. And so like it just made sense for him to get people who were domain specific, like people who are officers and security people, whatever, military people, to invest in his company and help him with connections, as opposed to just having people on the board who don't necessarily know how to direct the ship.
Have you had any examples of that? Yeah, where I mean, it's pretty. You just kind of completed your raise a few months ago, but
so we don't have. I mean, I'm the only person on the board at this point.
No, sorry, I meant your Wefunder investors kind of generating kind of leads.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So I mean, they've been super impactful. Like our connections through to like Apple and Amazon. I mean, it's honestly been amazing just being able to have people who work at these companies. Cool. Yeah, it's been really, really cool. Honestly, just like Microsoft, Google, I can keep going. A lot of the people in our Wefunder.
Please do keep going. Yeah.
HP, IBM. Yeah.
Immediately get intros to Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft.
Yeah, HP, IBM. Like it just, the list goes on and on. HubSpot, Autodesk. Like there's so many people at these companies who invested in Immersed, and they're just like helping us network through that. So, and at the same time, the question is, do we want just a few VCs who are very well networked? Sure. Or at least having 1,500 chances at getting our way through to a company. I'd probably go with especially being an emerging tech company, it's hard, man. I think some people...
why not have both, right?
Yeah.
Raise the money
and so we did have both.
Raise the money from the institutional investor, right? Mm-hmm. And Wefunder is not anti-VC, right?
Yeah.
VCs can add a ton of value, but we believe, there's a complementary value in having an army of people.
And we had a couple of VCs actually invest through our Wefunder. So you can definitely do both. It's just, I think that some of the quote unquote top tier VCs, they don't want to allow the public to be in their rounds. They just kind of want to do their own thing. And so for me, it's like, I mean, I really love the hybrid model. I really love the ability to democratize investment and financial upside. I really love the ability to have a wide reach. I'm sure it'd be great if we had, Andreessen Horowitz or Sequoia or whatever invest in Immersed. But at the end of the day, like, I think at the end of the day, just building the best product is what matters the most.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, man. So I want to get into like how you did it. You read an awesome blog post on this, by the way. I think it was on Medium, right? So if you Google like Renji Bijoy Medium, then you can find that as well. It's definitely worth a read. But how did you do it? Like both the kind of high level strategy, but then also kind of as much kind of concrete detail and specifics as you can remember.
Yeah. I mean, I think it starts way before my relationship with Wefunder. It really comes down to my relationships with people in general. So what I mean by that is, I mean, I've made a lot of friends throughout the years that not best friends, right? They're just people who people who in the few interactions you have with them, you leave an impact on their life, and they want to stay in touch. I mean, they don't necessarily have a phone call with you every single day, but randomly will text you, randomly will hit you up on Facebook, Instagram, whatever.
Are you talking like friends, or are you talking like people in the VR space, or are you talking
friends? I mean, 100% just random people who. Just random people, like people who like you just meet, like people who I've met. This is really weird. Like 150 people from my high school invested in our Wefunder. I did not expect.
What?
It's nuts. Yeah.
What a cool data point.
Yeah. And what's funny is I was an idiot in high school. Like I had a 2.6 GPA. I had a 2.6 GPA, and like people, I mean, it's funny. I don't know if you ever read, there's like an article, I think on Forbes or something, talks about how the vast majority of millionaires had under a 3.0. It's pretty crazy.
Really?
But yeah. But I mean, I wasn't stupid. I was just lazy, meaning like I did have a perfect score on my math SATs. Like I did a good job being able to do well on tests. But when it came to homework and stuff, I was just lazy in high school. But college, I pulled my act together, whatever. But it was just interesting to see how people who I had met in high school, and to be real, I became a Christian through college, and people who I was friends with on Facebook from my high school, they saw the change in my life. They saw that, wow, Renji's like really pulling his act together. He's not the jerk that he was in high school. And it really, like, I remember this one guy messaged me right after our Wefunder saying, oh, hey, by the way, invest in your Wefunder. And also my dad's the COO of something. And so I remember in my head, he was like, I don't know if you remember me, my name, I don't want to say his name. He was just like, I don't know if you remember me, my name is, blank. And I was like, yeah, I remember you. We hated each other in high school. And it was just funny that like a guy who hated me in high school and I hated him. Yeah. Man, I wasn't a Christian, so obviously back then I had grudges against people. But all that to say, like, it was just really interesting how becoming a Christian in college had really changed the reputation I had before. And then I guess years following that, different churches my wife had attended as we moved around the U.S., building relationships with people that way. And at the end of the day, like, I think as long as you're building a great company that people want to invest in, it's almost an easier pitch. I mean, I would say don't try to fundraise, hack your company. I would say build your company, and then fundraising becomes easier.
It's so true, right? The biggest piece of advice I give to founders that come to me and say, "Hey, like, can I raise a Wefunder? Like, I want to raise capital." It's like, no, like you got to go and build a company first.
Yeah,
investors are going to want to invest in.
Yep.
You don't yet have a product, and you can iterate on the product kind of more cheaply and kind of without raising as much capital.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I would say number one, it was, yes, the network of the relationships I had built over the years, and even the relationships of people who had hated me, but at least I was connected to them on Facebook. They had seen how my life had been transformed and that relationship was repaired. But then also building a great company. That's number two, like building a great company. Because here's another thing, like people had asked me right before or right after our Wefunder was successful, and they're like, yo, how'd you do that? Like, I want to be able to do that for mine. And I was just like, yo, number one, reach out to your network. And they're like, okay, how do I build a network? I was like, you're not gonna build it right now. It's like, it's something that you had to do years past. And when I say by network, I'm not talking about going to random networking events. Honestly, random networking events have probably been the least effective way of networking. It's honestly really has really come down to building genuine relationships with people where they actually want to stay in touch with you, right? Like, don't be genuine, love people, be nice to them, help them out. And Techstars says, give first. For me, I would just say, man, just be selfless. Like, just try to add value to people's lives and do it for free. Don't ask for equity or shares or whatever, like in an advisory share, whatever. Like, just help people and it will pay dividends in the end.
Renji, this isn't the, kind of quick hack, surefire way to raise $2 million in a month answer to the question that I think we were all hoping for here. Kind of basically be a good person your whole life and have an army of people that have your back, and also like have built an incredible company. Yes, two things which are a little bit harder to have executed.
Well, I'm not saying to be a good person. I'm saying, like, look, we all make mistakes, but own up to it. Be humble, like realize and own up to your mistakes, and at the end of the day, people will respect you a lot more, right?
Yeah. I'm kidding. But that being said, within the constraints of the relationships you have and the company that you have, on like, day T minus 30 of your launching your Wefunder campaign, then given those kind of the contours of those two things, then how do you
So I mean, we'd actually only planned to do the Wefunder 4 days before we did it, which was kind of like, holy crap, are we serious?
Really?
Yeah, so like it was really bad. Like I had reached out to G1 and Gotti and said, "Yo, I know this might sound horrible, but we kind of need to do this in 4 days because our Oculus Quest store launch was 2 weeks from our Wefunder launch, and so I was like, I need to give 2 weeks for people before our Oculus Quest store launch, and then 1 week after being in the store, and then we need to close it. And so." Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks. But I mean, the cool thing was it showed that there was a ton of organic growth. It wasn't this long, drawn-out process. Because here's the thing. I'm not trying, no offense to WeFunder, but fundraising in general is a distraction to building companies. And so I think just raise a ton of money all at once, very fast, and then get back to building your business. And, it's a win-win because the startup founder gets to focus back on their business. And the WeFunder, obviously, like, you guys get to get your payout as well quicker.
But then so was this then like for 3 weeks you were absolutely blitzing on fundraising?
No, so I was absolutely blitzing on fundraising all 4 days before we launched, then on launch day, and then a little bit the day after, and the rest after that, it happened on its own.
So this is amazing. So you spent a week blitzing on fundraising and raised $2 million.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like nothing short of God's grace, man. Awesome.
Basically, everything that you're saying on this podcast is just going into like an Instagram quote.
Yeah, for sure, man.
This is just very social media worthy. But so then, what did that 6 days look like? 4 days before launch day, maybe a little bit after.
I can talk about that. Yeah, so I had directly texted one by one my 45 people, like growth squad people, like people who I had deemed as people who are crazy gung-ho about Immersed, like who I feel like not only would help me share the word, but number one, like they wanted to put money into the company, like people who had previously asked me like, hey, are you taking money? And then,
who are these people? Are these like angel investors? Are these like, people that are kind of passionate? No. Are they customers and users?
No, I think that these are people who I think the vast, maybe like 3 of them were accredited, and the other 42 were unaccredited. These are people who are just like, hey, I want to put in 5K, 10K, whatever. Essentially, it's just this growth squad that'll help create your initial buzz on your social media channels when you post that. So what
term, the growth squad, 45 people that are super passionate about what you're doing.
Yep.
And you get them to invest. Of those 45 you texted, how many invested?
40. Yeah, it was awesome.
Amazing. It's unbelievable. And then what did they do to help you get the word out?
Yeah. So the night before, so number one, I told them, hey, you have 4 days. They had to pull their funds together, their resources together, like liquidate some of their stocks, whatever, to get their money together. But they had 4 days to figure that out before we went live. And I also made it very clear, I don't know what's going to happen when we go live. So if you want to get your spot in, get in before we go live. So this was we launched on a Thursday. I started reaching out to people, I think, on Sunday. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Cool. Checks out. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we ultimately, like, I was just like, hey, get your stuff together. I was answering any questions they might have about our company's future. And then,
did you chat with them on the phone?
On the phone. Well, so I would say about 45 of them I texted, and then 40 of them, I mean, I was on my phone, on my laptop, iMessage, and so I was able to like quickly chat with all of them. It was, for the following 4 days. If anyone had any questions, they ultimately would call me or ask me more questions via text. So it was text and calls, but they would almost, like, I would say maybe about 70 to 80% of the 40, they said, hey, like, I know that you said this is just for the small group of friends and family that you're getting in, but can I also tell my mom, or can I tell my friend, my really close friend? Like, you get them to essentially, they like you have such a solid company at this point, and such a great pitch, to the point where they're like, they can't help but to really want to get their friends and family in also. And so I allowed them to kind of have like 1 or 2 people, and then some of them I said, like, if I didn't know them, I was like,
you kind of allowed them to do that if they were asking you to.
Exactly.
It wasn't like you were asking them, hey, here's the thing that I want you to post on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, no. So I only did that on launch day. So the first 4 days, before we launched, I told them specifically, please do not share this with anyone. I actually recorded a private social media video. I was talking about, hey, like, hopefully by the time you watch this video, it's not too late. But ultimately, we're raising this Wefunder round because thus far, people have asked if they can invest, and I've said no. like because startups are inherently risky. The past 4 years, I've just been trying to make Immersed more stable to the point where I feel confident that their money would get a return and I just wouldn't lose their money. And so now that things feel, we're partnering with Facebook, all that type of stuff, I feel a lot more confident about where Immersed is headed. And I'd put my own family's money into that. Because again, I'm coming from an immigrant family background. Like, we don't have money. And so I'm not trying to lose anyone's money in this situation. And so that being said, I think that every single person who I pitched this to, they're like, wow, Renji really feels confident about where things are headed, finally. And so, yeah, I want to get in. I want my friends in. I want my family in, all that. So the thing is, I text them the night before the campaign as well, before the campaign went live. I text them saying, hey, in the morning at 8 a.m. when this thing goes live, I'm going to send you a couple of links. And on those links, I want you to say, hey, Renji, we're in. Thanks for letting us be part of this. Essentially, thank you for being part of this whole campaign these 4 days. We're going live, so now let's blow this thing out of the water. And so what we did was I uploaded that sort of personal video, whatever, to Facebook and Instagram, essentially telling people, hey, now we're finally opening up a round to the public. And so, yeah, I had all 40 people on the Growth Squad share, and comment on the Facebook post and the Instagram story, and had them repost the story too.
So you got the 40 guys on the Growth Squad to come in and invest. Then on day one of the campaign, you got them to share, kind of help promote it.
Yep.
What else did you do on the launch day? Was there any PR? Were you doing kind of, social media? Or you were doing social media?
So email? No, so I didn't do any PR. I didn't talk to any media outlets or anything. I think the week before we had a Bloomberg video that came out, and so that honestly it was just fortunate timing. I didn't plan that out because again, I didn't know I was doing the Wefunder until the Sunday or Saturday right before we did it. And so the Bloomberg video that came out, it warmed up my friends and family. Honestly, that was just God's provision, God's timing, all this. It was perfect. But the day of the Wefunder, all I did was I posted to Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I had my friends and family and the Growth Squad, everyone who I knew invested, had them blow up those posts so that Facebook and Instagram's algorithms would bring it to the top of everyone's news feeds. And then it just started. I mean, it was a snowball effect at that point. And so I think it got over 10,000 views that day. Wow.
You had Daniel Ha as well as a lead investor.
I did what? Oh, Daniel Ha, yeah.
Yeah. Did he help promote it as well, or?
Not that I know of. I mean, I think. I guess what he posted on Twitter, I think he retweeted it. I don't think that he necessarily went and recruited more investors. I think he more so just hey, I'm here throughout the process. If you need help, and he was helping strategize all that type of stuff. He's more of a behind the scenes sort of person for this campaign.
Right. And obviously having him on the campaign page.
Exactly.
And on the checkout flow.
Yeah, it helps people. Exactly. Give people confidence that, hey, this is a solid investor and he's investing as well. And also we had Jake from Sovereign's Capital invest as well. It showed, he had, for this round, putting in $50K and previously put in $600K. It helped people be like, wow, this VC is re-upping. So things like that. I had to do a lot in regards to making sure that the Wefunder page itself helped develop confidence within the reader's mind and heart.
Very cool. Any other kind of tactics that you did that helped you to?
Yeah, there was a lot. So I mean, a lot of this was kind of just in my head before I'd sort of written that blog post or whatever. And whenever, obviously, we blew through the $2 million, the Wefunder team was like, hey, can you kind of consolidate this and whatever? And that's when I wrote that post. As far as what else I did, I just wanted to make sure that the momentum kept going. So I think right when we hit around 800 or 900K, so we opened the campaign at 8 a.m. Around 11 or 12 p.m., 11 a.m. or noon, we had hit around 800, 900K, but I saw that the momentum started slowing a little bit, and I wanted to re-energize it. And so I had sent the post to all of our users next. And so after friends and family, after I created
the immersed users,
yeah,
in the Wefunder campaign,
the immersed users. So the people in the Wefunder campaign, that point, they were already in. The people who I knew, all my friends and family, and their friends and family. And the thing is, also on the personal side of things with friends and family, they just were sharing it with their friends and their friends and their friends. And honestly, we had a bunch of people all around the United States, names that were kind of familiar that I kind of knew were maybe awesome. 2 or 3 degrees of separation away. Yeah. And then around noon is when I then posted it to our Twitter, our Discord channel, and then our users started blowing it up. It got Oculus's attention, and so Oculus retweeted it. So then it got Oculus to blow it up to their 60,000 or 160,000 followers on Twitter, whatever it is. I don't even know what it, probably millions at this point. So anyways, that being said, like a lot of those posts started going, they started getting like really organically viral. And it really helps because even in the subsequent days, people would find out about it. And like I remember the first day we raised, I think like 1.2 or 1.3 million dollars. I think the next day, I think it was like 400K. Just again, at that point, I just let my foot go off get off the pedal because I was like, hey, we raised. I was only shooting for 500K first off, so I wasn't even trying to hit a million. And so, but when I saw 800K, I was like, what if we could blow through the million? We hit through the million, and then I was like, all right, at this point, anything on top of that is icing on the cake. So the next day, 400K. And the following day, it was like 150-ish, and so it just kind of like tapered down over there. But I mean, 400K is not easy money. It's a lot of money, and so it was really nice that was just sort of subsequent momentum.
It's almost like kind of misleading. Not misleading, but like it's very rare for a founder to raise like a couple of $1 million in a couple of weeks on Wefunder super easily, right? I mean, if you have, I think what's cool is if you have the company, if you have the investment opportunity, if you have the network, you can do it. And it's not like you're the only one, but like it's certainly rare. But I guess like, how would you compare the ease of raising on Wefunder versus like if you tried to raise this 2 million
VC
from VC or like angels?
Yeah. So number one, I don't have any rich family members. Again, we're immigrants. I was the first generation born here, so I didn't have a rich uncle or whoever to really go to. So the network that I had was really just a bunch of $1,000 checks is what it really came down to. Or like I think the average check size was like $1,200 or $1,300. So we did have like one 100K check, I think a few 50 and a few 25K checks, but those are few and far between. A lot of this really came down from just a compilation of a ton of different people. But I mean, trying to fundraise this from VCs and angels, I mean, number one, I think I'm just done with angels, period. Because like I remember in the early days of starting my company, so this might be not a popular opinion, but or an unpopular opinion, but I actually enjoy VCs more than I do angels. I feel like some people are like, oh, but VCs, their bar so high, blah blah. I think for me, like with VCs, they're very transactional, meaning either your company is a good fit for their model or it's not. Simple as that. You do your pitch, see what you can do to get them on board. If not, all right, move to the next. And so it's more of a numbers game. Whereas angels, it's more of like a dating sort of thing. It's very emotional. And I think
it might be dragged out a little bit.
Exactly. And so my experience has been a lot of angels kind of digging through all your stuff and at the very end being like, yeah, I don't think I'm in. And it's like, why'd you waste like 40 hours of my time? Like it was just like, it just was very unsophisticated, very aimless, at least the vast majority of angels that I had interacted with. And so, I mean, I'm just not a huge fan of raising angel money. VC money, I'm a little bit more of a fan of, but when it comes to VCs who want seats on the board who you don't really know, and also they haven't really impressed you in regards to the direction of where your company should go. Like for me, for example, Sovereign's Capital, I love Jake. He's 100% going to be on our board whenever you have a board. Like I love him. He's awesome. He's been, great relationship, super supportive, always been there for me, and understands where our business is headed. Makes 100% sense. Awesome. But as far as getting other VCs for like Series A, et cetera, them essentially buying a board seat for $5 million or $3 million or whatever it is, and you not really having a relationship. If you ever watched the Steve Jobs movie, that can get very scary. I mean, Steve Jobs was kicked off his board, and he was the person who brought this company to that size to begin with. So it's like, who better than Steve Jobs to know how to direct this ship? Maybe Scully? Clearly not. Right. So all that being said, man, like I think that as companies, I think it was even the Nightscope CEO who mentioned that, especially in the emerging tech place or space, like Immersed, also in emerging tech. I mean, it's going to be very difficult to find VCs who really understand where things should go. And then on top of it, like even thinking about Elon Musk with SpaceX and Tesla, imagine if he tried to build those companies before he had PayPal or Zip2, right? he would never be able to get a VC to even write him a check. And so for him, he had to bootstrap his way because like no one else saw the future that he saw. Everyone, if he was trying to raise venture for Tesla, everyone would be like, look at the EV1 by GM. It died. So why the heck would I invest in your thing? And even if I do, all right, fine. I'm gonna put in $2-3 million because that's chump change to me, and I'll take a seat on your board and I'll direct the ship for you. It's just not something that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the kind of alignment and also in your case, and like I say, I think it's a rare case, but for the right company, of which you were one, and there are many others out there, it actually was a pretty easy way to raise a couple of million.
It was a great use of 4 days, 5 days, 100%. Something I found out after the fact. My mom she didn't tell me until the day after, single-handedly raised $300K. Like she had 100 people write like $3,000 check, or sorry, I don't know what the math works out. It was, she had 300 people write 1K checks. Like my mom.
That's amazing, man. So basically,
and almost blindly, she doesn't even understand my business. She thinks I make the Oculus Quest headset. She doesn't know exactly what my app is. She just knows, trust me, my son's a beast. Just invest in him. It was funny. Like the day after, she called me out of nowhere. I was like, hey, what's up, Mom? And she was just like, hey, I have my old manager from Atlanta from 15 years ago on the line. I was like, what? It's like this random person, and the lady is like, "Oh, hey, Renji, I'm trying to learn how to put in my money in the Wefunder." So, okay, I see my name. I'm putting in $500. My mom's like, no, make that 1,000. Don't trust me. Do not. My mom's like, and I'm like, yo, I didn't even know my mom was doing this, but when I actually looked at the names on the list, it came out to about 300K. Just came from my mom calling every person that she knew, saying, put in your money, this thing's gonna explode.
That's so amazing. Like there's been a lot of kind of tweet-worthy content on this podcast. I like the 150 people from my high school invested in me.
Yeah, it's crazy.
GPA was 2.6.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The most tweet-worthy line is like, my mom helped me raise 300K.
Without telling me.
That's big pasta, guys. Anyone listening, that is the key to $2 million in a couple of weeks Wefunder campaign. Get your mom to raise 300K.
But imagine this. This is an immigrant Indian woman she's a nurse. Like she knows nothing about business and she doesn't know nothing about investing. She just knows, hey, my son is doing something crazy. Trust, he's smart. Trust in him. And
that is honestly, taking aside for a second, that is one of the most cool and honestly inspiring stories. And the fact that she's an immigrant, she's a nurse, but she it's honestly pretty cool, man. That's
she just trusts, story. Man. Yeah, man.
So that's let's kind of bring it into land here. This has been a really, really fun interview. Thanks so much for taking the time to do it. I know you're a very big fan. Last two questions. Firstly, I mean, you've given so much advice, but one, above all, the biggest takeaway lesson for a founder who's considering or embarking on a Reg DF campaign?
Yep. What I would say is, so the surprising after effect was we felt like we got control of our company back. I mean, I remember writing a long thank you letter, like with 1 million hearts on it, to Gotti, G1, Nick, the CEO at Wefunder, like just telling them, thank you so much for getting me to not be stubborn and to actually raise this campaign, because historically Immersed was just a slave to the VCs. I'm not talking about Jake. I'm talking about other VCs who've been involved at Immersed. Jake has been our one saving grace as far as just giving us some sort of dog in the fight against VCs. And so what I mean by that is I'm a first-time founder. Right? I'm not as savvy historically. Like I've made a couple mistakes in regards to the types of investors I had in my round back 2-3 years ago, and how they're almost like having like a death grip around our neck. And raising this Wefunder round has given that control back to our team. And so that honestly, at this point, I'm just so thankful that, the Wefunder team convinced me to do it. And it's been an awesome blessing, man.
That's really cool. And so awesome. And last question, one piece of advice for a founder, starting a startup.
One piece that's always hard. When people ask me that, man, I always go back and think, man, I should have said something else. Like there's so many nuggets that are so important. What I would say is, definitely surround yourself with other founders who've been where you want to be. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, and don't let them charge you equity for it. That's what I would say. Like the most valuable founders who've been the most impactful for me were those who didn't necessarily want me to just give them free shares in the company. If instead, actually, the founders who gave me money in order to give me advice, those have been the most impactful founders, the most helpful founders, because they are also financially obligated to my success. If I'm giving someone equity or shares, they're not bought in. Like if I'm just giving for free, but if they're paying for equity in my company, yeah, they're financially obligated to my success. And what that means is I get a person who's a smart investor, but also has it from the mindset of a founder. They've done it before, and they see a lot of things that you just don't see. So I guess humble yourself, and I've had to humble myself. I don't know everything. I need to surround myself with people who've been down certain routes that are similar to the one that I'm on, and get advice from the people who, and also at the end of the day, as you get different data points from a bunch of these different founders, they might have conflicting advice, but obviously you need to sift through the data and figure out what route makes the most sense for your particular application.
Mm-hmm. This is amazing, man. Thanks so much. This is such a fun interview. Thanks so much for taking the time, and we'll speak again soon.
Yeah, man. It's good talking. See you.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed that episode with Johnny Price, our Director of Fundraising, and Renji Bijoy, the founder and CEO of Immersed. If you enjoyed it, subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and share it with your friends. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time on Adventure Capital.